get Yasmin, being the glass child.
Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. So before I start, I just want to ask you guys a question. Have you ever had a friend tell you that they are the parent of a special needs child? Okay, so who do you think of first when your friend tells you that? Do you think of the parents? Do you think about how difficult it might be for the parents? Or do you think about the special needs child? Do you think about, well, I wonder what kind of challenges
The
this child.
siblings.
The siblings, who said that?
The sibling of the.
Thank you, I am a sibling and I'm a glass child and you should stay and listen to my talk. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, if these parents, if they had another child, a healthy one or two or whatever, I can guarantee you, aside from our dear Shira here, you will not be thinking about the other child because we are truly the unseen, okay? You will not take us into, you will not. Okay, so and this is the subject of my talk today. Now, so what is glass children, right? Who are they? Glass children are the siblings, the healthy siblings of a special needs child. Why are they called glass children? Not because we are weak and we're gonna crack like glass, I assure you not, okay? In fact, we're the strongest people you will meet. We are called glass because our parents see through us. We are like glass. They see through us as they look towards our sibling, okay? And when I talk about special needs here, I'm not referring to just autism or intellectual disability. It actually encompasses any child who has higher support needs, right? And so it could be physical disability, it could be an addiction, it could be eating disorder, it doesn't matter. As long as that child needs more caregiving at that time that would have gone to us, it is used up on the child, we become often emotionally neglected. So a little story about myself. So my brother and I, we grew up in the 80s. So yeah, the era of Michael Jackson and Madonna. So you know, you can bet we'd be like trying to moonwalk and all these things. But then you see what happened is that when he was 15, he developed symptoms of schizophrenia. Okay? And I was 12. So suddenly, the brother that I used to play Lego bricks with was no longer. Instead, he was replaced by this screaming demon who would always hear voices in his head and shout and scream. Okay? And he would do weird, bizarre things like throw ice cubes into the swimming pool, circle dirty words in the dictionary, things like that. To say that I was embarrassed to invite my friends over to my house is an understatement. Don't forget, this is the 80s. Stigma is rife, okay? And no one, no adult or parent was talking to me about what's going on. So, and I can understand because, like I say, it's the 80s and mental health awareness, illness, I think they also didn't know what was going on, you know. So I thought my brother was being a brat, you know, he was just throwing tantrums. I grew up thinking that. And what I did is that I built a world outside of it. I focused on my studies and my friends, right? Now, one day at home, there was some sort of commotion going on. I heard repeated banging sounds and then silence. What was I doing? I was hiding in my room, doing what I do best, which is pretend like everything is okay. So suddenly, later only I realized that, oh, that was the day that my brother was admitted to the most shameful of hospitals in Singapore in the 80s, Woodbridge Hospital, okay? And what I remember is as I hid behind the door, I heard my mom sobbing on the phone, crying and shamefully telling somebody that I finally done it. I've admitted him to Woodbridge. The pain in her voice, the shame in her voice, the guilt maybe even, was really evident. But how about me? How was I feeling hiding behind that room? Do you know what? I don't know how I was feeling. You know why I don't know? Because this is how glass children are. When we see our parents or our siblings suffering, the first thing we learn is that our feelings and our needs are secondary and they're not important. So the number one thing we all love to do and are very good at doing is swallowing our feelings. So no, I do not know how I was feeling. The other thing is, we learn and understand very quickly that we need to be the good little boy and the good little girl. Be a good child for mommy and daddy, okay? They are suffering so much, so you better be the best you can be. And so, most of us become perfectionistic. Right. So and I carried this behavior with me all the way through to my adulthood. So one day, every morning, I would hear my brothers shout and scream, and that was my morning wake-up call. Every evening, I'll come back home to what is like World War III, the shouts and screams between my mother and my brother. So when I was 28, I launched the most successful marketing campaign of my career when I was 28. But that was also the time that I had to do one of the most traumatic things in my life. I had come back home again to shout and scream, but this time my mother had walked out of the house and she said, I cannot do it anymore, you deal with it. So I was like, okay, I walked into the house and it was quiet, so I sat on my bed, my brother was in his room. I sat on my bed and I was like, what do? I don't know what to do. I felt so confused and I felt scared. I felt alone. Eventually, I gathered my wits. I called the ambulance. When I called the ambulance, they told me, oh, it's a mentally ill patient, so you need to call the police. Oh, okay, I called the police. So they all came. Now, this was so traumatic, right, that I can only remember two things. One, telling my brother, take your medicine back, follow the ambulance. Second, I reached out to talk to the policeman, but because I tapped him from the back, right, I think he got shocked, and his hand went straight to the gun that he was carrying. And that is the only two things I remember. I don't remember after that. Did I go with my brother? What happened? Did I call an auntie? Nothing. I blacked it out, you know. So this is something that, that we just kind of carry through. And you know what I did? I just went the next day to work, like nothing happened, and like I said, I rocked the marketing campaign. Okay? So none of my colleagues knew what was going on because when we are glass children, right, we don't feel like we have any right to our feelings. Okay? We really don't. So yes, I was struggling with emotions and all these things, but I will always scold myself, say, "You stupid lah, you bloody weirdo. What's your problem? What's there for you to cry about? What's there for you to be upset about? You are an okay child. You're the perfect child, so shut up, you know." So I just swallow my feelings the whole time, right? But what is the problem then? We go around carrying this bag of pain and guilt. Often the guilt is self-inflicted, sometimes society and our culture inflicted, you know. We go around carrying this, and many times I used to get spin round the rabbit hole of hopelessness, I would call it. You know, I felt like, oh, now I have to look after my sickly mom. After that, I got to look after him. I don't want to do it. When is it all going to end? And the only time I thought that it will end is if they both died. Or if I died. Yes, because the pressures of future caregiving I felt it so strongly that I felt like maybe if I died, I can be free of this. Yes. Okay, so finally I went for therapy at the ripe old age of 46, and that's when I learned how to find balance in this life when it's like a never ending. When you're a sibling, you're going to be sibling until you die, okay? So there's full of crises and triggers and all that. Somehow I'm managing it. And what I wanted to just tell you guys, remember how I asked, who do you think of? So the next time when your friend says, oh, I've got a special needs child dealing with all these things, you ask them, oh, how about your other child? Ask them. And if they say, oh, they're fine, they're doing fine, you tell them what you heard now, today. Why is this important? Because just by bringing awareness, many parents, they don't really understand, especially when the child is so perfect and doing so well, they don't understand. They don't see it. So by you just bringing alertness and awareness to them to ask, how about the other child? You might have just changed the trajectory of that one child, that one glass child, so that they don't end up depressed and crumpled and anxious and, you might have just changed the trajectory of this child. Okay? We are all here at the end of the day to be seen and to be understood. Even though, yes, mental health awareness and special needs awareness and all that, yes, there's been a lot more being done now, but it's for the parents and the special needs, right? Standing right next to them is the glass child. So please see us too. Thank you.